Hello, everyone. What is going on? James here, and I am with, after 2
Hello.
years, the return of Mr. Scott.
Hello. It has definitely been a while since I've been on one of these.
For sure, man. Time just flies way too fast. It's kind of worrying now because, like, when you're a kid, it goes by so slow. But ever since like 2019, it feels like everything's just flown by stupidly quick.
That's
So
just how the world gets you.
yeah, just got to make the most of living in the moment and what have you.
Yeah. No, definitely.
But so today the podcast is on working in the gaming industry. Now, both myself and Scott haven't worked in the gaming industry, but I'd like to think we know a fair bit about the crapness of working in the gaming industry. Scott's brother actually worked in the gaming industry for a time, so we can sort of discuss a bit about that later.
Yeah.
But first thing I wanted to bring up, what would you say is the worst gaming companies currently to work for and just in general?
Ooh, okay. This is going to be an interesting one. Um, so if we're talking about ones to work for, I don't know every gaming company, but the ones that immediately come to mind are Ubisoft and Blizzard at the moment.
Yeah,
The fact that, well, like a lot of Ubisoft's one got like swept under the rug when Blizzard's one happened. So I feel like everyone just like kind of forgot that Ubisoft had very similar allegations against them because
so what
suddenly Blizzard had them as well.
Yeah, because with Ubisoft, obviously, I didn't know that they were bad apart from them just spamming out games. I thought, damn, Rainbow Six Siege, amazing game, Bellissima,
Yeah,
everything else, hit and miss.
yeah. No,
Assassin's Creed 2 and 4.
they're. I don't think theirs are as bad as Blizzard's right now, considering more stuff keeps coming out about Blizzard's, and it seems to just keep getting worse. But Ubisoft had very similar allegations to them into like the sexual harassment and shit.
Oh,
But it got swept under the rug because, well, Blizzard's allegations came out and everyone turned their eye to that.
horrendous. But I guess when something does look worse, like first off, I'm not saying YouTubers are like trying to I know probably some are trying to think, oh, talking about this and shitting on this will get me views. I think most of them are just coming from a place of like just being genuine and wanting to solve the issue and having a go at the companies. But I
Yeah.
think they just want to direct all their energy to like one company rather than making a video, having a go at Ubisoft, then having a go at
Well, it makes
Activision.
sense because Blizzard is the bigger company and the more
Yeah,
well-known company of the two. So when that shit came out there, a lot of Blizzard fans were genuinely hurt to find out this company was doing shit like that.
yeah.
Like I think that. So I think with Ubisoft, it's kind of they're a somewhat big company, but everyone's like, they were kind of shit for a while. So, but with Blizzard, I think people were genuinely hurt about like finding out about that.
Yeah, I mean, who with Blizzard's jazz? Who's really more to blame, Activision or Blizzard, or a mix of both? Or
It's kind of a mix of both. Originally, everyone put the blame on Activision, but there's evidence that shows that there was stuff like this in Blizzard before Activision took over. It's just the guy in charge of Activision, Bob Bobby, I think. I don't know his last name. Bobby Kodak, maybe. I don't know. Kovac. It's one of the two. His first name's Bobby. I know that much. But look, seems like because I think he was in charge of Activision and thus Activision Blizzard, he swept a lot of it under the rug.
uh,
Like, there's a lot of evidence that
damn.
shows he knew about this stuff way before it became public and did nothing.
I mean,
If anything, he helped sweep it under the rug so it wouldn't become public rather than try and fix the issue.
you just think that the normal human reaction sort of is like, "What the fuck's going on? I'm calling 911 or 999."
Yeah.
Like what
All
the
right, so
what
to
the fuck is this?
catch the people up who probably don't know what we're talking about, Activision, Blizzard, and as I mentioned, Ubisoft have a lot of allegations against them involving both sexual and human rights violations of various degrees. With
Yeah,
obviously, as I mentioned, Blizzard's being kind of worse, so that's why everyone seems to forget Ubisoft had very similar allegations.
I think obviously I'm not taking away from the seriousness of like things that have that Activision Blizzard have done and what have you, but I just want to move on to a different company briefly.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think Sony working under like because Naughty Dog when they were making the Crash
Yeah,
games, working under Sony was apparently hell. In the baking heat of California, what was happening was they'd be grafting their asses off. Then all the Sony people would go home and turn the air conditioning off to save money. I don't know how much that's really going to save you. So then they'd just be like absolutely just baking to death, trying to make Crash 1, 2,
Yeah,
and 3.
Sony's another one of those where it's like, well, they're quite bad with that stuff as well, because doesn't matter if it makes the life for the employees hell, as long as you're saving that extra dollar.
Yeah, mental. I mean, I'm not trying to generalize anything, but I think like Sony being like a Japanese company, in Japan typically like people are worked really hard, which is
Japan's
a shame.
work culture is hardcore as fuck.
Yeah, there isn't really much of a work to life balance. That's why the Switch has done so well and all portable gaming does so well there, because they're all
Yeah.
running around and they're on the train.
Yeah.
Think I might as well spend 10 minutes on
Yeah.
the Switch.
Portable gaming is kind of the go-to in Japan because everyone's working so much, so having something you can play on the commute to work is very beneficial as opposed to a console.
Yeah. Unless you want to somehow wire it up on a train, get a small TV and just be playing a PS4 on the train.
Unless you've got like AJ Styles portable like Xbox One briefcase.
Yeah. But yeah, I can imagine Naughty Dog, I mean, I can't think of them doing anything bad, but like I'd imagine working under Sony at the time would have just been hellish. You would have probably hated your gaffers, for turning.
Well, it comes down to, are you the game publisher or the game developer?
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna say this now: if you dig into every company, you'll probably find something. It's just a matter of where do you draw a line. You know what I mean? Because for example, if you boycott every company that's done something bad, you will literally have no game you can play. Every company has at least something.
I mean, I was thinking the only thing I can think of with Naughty Dog is if they made Jak and Daxter now, and how much of a I don't want to call. Have you ever played Jak and Daxter? Is it off a sports?
I have not.
Basically, Daxter. You know Daxter, the little rodent geezer. He's a little bit pervy in the game, but like he's not so bad that he's a creep. And I feel like if he's just a bit excitable, so I feel like if that was around now, people would probably be like, "What the hell is this? You can't do this." That's the only thing I can think of. Naughty Dog that could get
older
them in
era games were on a different breed.
Yeah, but it wasn't anything bad. It wasn't like, in my opinion, it wasn't anything offensive. It wasn't anything nasty. I mean, it was 12 plus. They wouldn't be able to get away with it being horrendous. But yeah, I can't really.
Nowadays, people are very snowflake in the sense of like they try and protect a lot from things that honestly don't matter in the long run.
Yeah. I mean, with how GTA used to be, they probably struggle with that nowadays. But I sort of get GTA more because like some of that stuff is a bit outlandish. But the thing is, the people you follow in GTA aren't presented as saints; they're all criminals. So I sort of think them saying silly things or going over the top isn't really that bad because you're not aspiring to be like the characters in GTA. Well, you'd rather be like the civilians who are sadly getting shot up, living normal lives. You don't want to be Nick. As much as I love Nico Bellic as a character and feel sorry for him, you don't want to live his life.
Very much the Rick argument of like you should like. So I know this goes a bit off topic, but it will circle back around to what you're saying. It's like the Rick argument from Rick and Morty. Rick is not designed to be a good guy. He's designed to be an awful character, and you shouldn't aspire to be like him, for example. It's very much like that. Where like it's fun to play them in a game, but they're not characters you're supposed to look up to and aspire to be like. They are literally designed to be awful people.
Yeah, I mean with the whole Rick and Jerry's thing, when I was younger, I thought, I want to be a Rick. Yeah, legendary. He's a king. Fuck Jerry. But as an adult, I'd much rather be bloody Jerry. Like, Rick's just a lunatic, man. He's an absolute mental case. Like, he's leaving universes behind and not... Imagine all the memories you have with, like, your family and everything now, or, like, people that you care about now, and then the world getting Cronenberg and just being like, oh, I'm leaving, then see you, bye.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you
Rick
leave
lives in a world where there's no repercussions and no attachments. He's... a hardcore nihilist and somewhat narcissist.
Yeah,
he ain't. It shows.
Yeah, I was gonna say he ain't like a he's definitely somewhat a narcissist. But I think like I know you said somewhat a narcissist, but like I think the term narcissist gets thrown around way too much, man. Not for you, not you saying it specifically, but you know, people in general in society they say this person's a bit egotistical or they're a narcissist.
Oh
I
yeah,
think like
there's a difference between just being egotistical and being a narcissist. There's definitely a
yeah,
difference.
because like with the egotists, it's like I feel like a lot of them don't actually believe their stuff. They just think they're the hype, and then they get brought down to
Yeah,
earth to a certain
narcissists
level.
actually on a mental level believe they are
Yeah,
the top shit and
yeah,
can't fathom like the world not the world doesn't revolve around them.
exactly. Yeah.
Brief mention of this as a good example. Again, I know we're going off topic a little bit, so we'll circle back around. Amber Heard.
Oh,
That is an example of an actual narcissist.
yeah, medically diagnosed as
Yeah, like she is medically diagnosed, and it's very obvious for anyone who watched the court case that she can not comprehend that she is not the world does not revolve around her in a way.
yeah. I mean, sorry, what I meant to say was that is like if she went to a doctor, she would be like diagnosed as a
I think she was officially
oh,
diagnosed because
um,
I think her name was Dr. Curry, but she was brought in by the court, and while she was a rep for Johnny, she was actually ordered by the court to do an analysis on Amber, and came back as, yeah, no, she's got narcissism disorder, as well
yeah.
as another thing I can't remember. And the thing is, she even mentioned Amber tried to lie on the test,
Oh,
which just proves the point more. If
for
you're taking
sure.
a test to try and analyze that you've got a certain medical condition and you're trying to lie to make it seem like you don't, kind
Yeah,
of points a bad picture at you.
definitely.
Because as I said, they're professionals. They know when you're trying to cheat on those types of tests.
Yeah. I mean, at the highest level of court, they definitely get it right. But like some lie detector tests, like you know the Jeremy Kyle show, because one
Oh
geezer
yeah,
that was horrible what
lie
happened to him.
detectors are a funny one because they account for like increases in heart rate, but the thing
Yeah.
is, not everyone's heart rate increases when they lie. Sometimes they could just be anxious, and that can get them caught out by a lie detector when they could be fully telling the truth. They're just really anxious.
Hmm.
Anyway,
Because I mean, imagine.
we've derailed quite a bit.
Yeah, I just want to bring up one last point before the next. Well, before looking into because I've got Naughty Dog up, like looking at things that they've done. But one last thing I wanted to bring up: imagine being in front of an audience on Jeremy Kyle and discussing all your problems at like 10 o'clock in the morning. Of course, you're
Oh
going to be a
god.
bit nervous. You
Yeah,
know?
exactly.
So,
To be fair, Jeremy Kill's one of the shows that it can be hilarious to watch, but the show makes its living off of ruining someone's life. Let's admit that now. Because
I mean,
it just airs out someone's entire dirty laundry for the world to laugh at.
yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I have a lot of fond memories of going to my grandparents and chilling, talking with them, and Jeremy Kyle being on the telly. And us, sometime, well, I was laughing at it quite a bit. They smiled at some stuff, but they were like, this is just a bit sad, but they found it interesting, but like what people were saying on the show. And I've got a lot of memories on holiday in the mornings watching watching Jeremy Kyle. And it's like it's sad. Looking back on it, it is sad, but like the mass appeal fact, like the USP is that people are going mad on telly and people want to see people going
Oh
mad.
yeah, people love to watch the overreactions.
Yeah.
I'm
If the
just saying,
show
like on a general front.
Yeah, if the show was just like a proper therapy session, I mean, I'd personally find it interesting, but I can't imagine it have the mass appeal. Like if they said, "What do you think of this?" then they talk about their problems. Yep, okay, cool.
Yeah.
But the thing that annoys me, Jeremy Kyle actually had a go at a lot of people, and it's like, bro, you're meant to be fucking helping them, you numpty. You're not meant to be going mad at them, you know, and shouting at them.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Like I said, I don't think his intention was ever to help someone on that show. I think it was literally just to air out someone's dirty laundry for
Yeah.
everyone to laugh at.
The
And
little bald
paint people as being shitty.
Yeah, I was going to say the little bald geezer. I think his name was Graham. He seemed quite genuine and helpful, but I think they just brought him on to try and solve the issues when Jeremy sort of just said, "How can you do this? I can't believe you did that, you idiot!" And then
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, let's just get back to Naughty Dog.
Yeah,
But,
back
yeah.
to Naughty Dog.
So
So I
I've
don't
gone,
know a lot about what Naughty Dog has done and that. Because I know they're a developer more than that.
yeah, so I've gone on
Oh, here we
Reddit
go.
to see what's happening. So I mean, this is just we can't take these. We can't take Helios, Vector, Vector's word for it, but let's see what he or she is saying. So I have some insider friends, and they pretty much told me the work environment for Naughty Dog is horrible. No one really wants to work for them. That they are known as the
Okay, so I do know about this. Naughty Dog do have a thing of crunch time, but that's literally almost every gaming company.
Yeah,
Crunch time is quite severe in the game industry.
yeah, definitely. I mean, the thing is, they're put under the gaffer because the thing is with work. I think work in general, that although it's not a good goal and it should be different, like the goal is for the worker to please their supervisor, and the supervisor pleases their gaffer, then the gaffer pleases their boss and pleases their boss and pleases their
Yeah.
boss. Like when it comes to big companies, that's sort
I
of the
think
vibe that
it's a
I've.
thing of you put an air date on a game, but games take a lot of time to make, like multiple years to actually
Yeah,
make a game. So you announce a game and you give it a specific air date. Well, now you just put all your developers on a timeline, so they end up having to work overtime anyway to try and get it done, and then they enter crunch time.
hmm
Like it's just a thing that keeps happening. Like
that I was going to say briefly. That's why I'm glad, like when certain games are delayed, because you see how like Battlefield 2042 comes out and other games or Halo
it's like
Infinite.
it's like the old saying, and I believe this is someone from Nintendo that said this: a bad game is eventually, a delayed game is eventually good, but a bad launch is always bad.
Exactly, it's rarely ever recovered from unless you're like a big fan of the franchise.
Yeah, like, if a game gets delayed, eventually it will be good because the developers get more time to actually bring it together. But if you
Yeah.
rush them, that's how you get complete broken, buggy messes that barely function as a game.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, it's like Halo the Master Chief Collection. I know you haven't played it much, but when it came out in 2014, it was just horrendous, and it took them 4 years to fix it. And after that 4 years, while it's a lot of fun and an amazing game, and they've done so much to it, it ain't going to get the popularity it could have had,
Yeah,
which is just a damn shame.
like a lot of the time, if a game comes out, it's a broken mess. You can either blame crunch time or you can blame the company itself cutting corners.
Definitely.
That one is also dependent on the company.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean,
an example of that I'll use is EA. For EA's multiplayer game, they 100% cut corners and they rely a lot more on monetization to make their money for the multiplayer game. So they do actually half-ass it to a degree.
yeah, I mean, I guess with I guess that's true for EA, but I guess with like 343 and Halo MCC, they're because we never seen any company put multiple multiplayer games into one game. So it was probably
Yeah,
a big experiment, and they thought, "Shit, we've remastered Halo 2. Let's just slap all these games in there," and it hardly worked. But
yeah, exactly.
I'd love to see more companies do that though, because like I know Call of Duty has gone down the toilet over the years, but the original games like COD 1, 2, 3, COD 4,
You
World at
mean Call
War,
of Duty ever wasn't in the toilet?
I mean, MW2, Black Ops 1, amazing.
I know. I'm just
Yeah,
poking fun at. I'm just poking fun at it.
yeah. I get why people wouldn't like it because it is it's just your typical standard shooter. But there are certain things which make certain COD games amazing, and other ones just completely horrendous.
Yeah,
But I wish they'd do a multiplayer game where they put all those games into one. I think that'd be bants.
yeah. It's a difficult one because in order to package them together, you need to update all of them at once and then
Yeah,
bring them together, and that's surprisingly hard to do at times.
yeah. Because like a lot of games, they just came out on the one console and they haven't even been ported over. So I can imagine
Exactly.
it's a
Yeah.
lot of doing work from the ground up to a certain
I,
degree.
I imagine that's what happened with the Halo Master Chief Collection. Is they had to suddenly update and remaster every Halo game and then package it together as one. And that's
Yeah.
a lot of work in order to like do that. So I'm not surprised shit went under the radar and it came out as a mess. That is a
hmm
lot of work, and they probably weren't given enough time to actually fully bring it together.
Yeah, sadly. But yeah, with Naughty Dog though, worked 80 hours a week non-stop for her entire 10 years there. Yeah, as you say, crunch time was just forced. But I mean, the only thing that annoys me with working when they work all the hours, if they were doing like if they were paying if they made overtime optional and made the overtime really well, I'd think fair play. But when they're forcing overtime and not paying,
Yeah, it's
paying
forced
for it,
overtime, and a lot of the time they're not even being paid for the overtime.
yeah, completely
It's
fucking scummy.
it's almost expected of you to be doing overtime without pay in the game industry.
Yeah, and it's just horrible.
Yeah.
So why do you think people go into the gaming industry in the first place when it's such a
A lot of
good
people
job?
do it because they're passionate about games or they grew up playing games, but I feel like a lot of them don't understand fully how the game industry works.
Yeah,
And it's funny enough because so many people go into it thinking, "Oh, I'm gonna make the next Call of Duty, or I'm gonna make the next like other big game here." I thought one didn't come to mind, but you know what I mean. People go in with the idea of like they grew up with games, they think they know what makes a good game, and they're gonna invent the next like big hit, but they don't realize fully like how it works. Like a lot of work goes into making games. Like literally, it can take multiple years to make one game.
yeah, especially in this day and age as well. I
Yeah,
mean,
and a lot of companies often have multiple teams dedicated to separate games, so they can get multiple out a year.
yeah.
A good example of this would be 2K with their WWE
Oh
games,
God.
because they have to do those yearly, and with how long it takes, on top of the having to have an updated roster, they cut corners almost every way they can, whether it be gameplay, graphically, bugs, shit like that. They if it makes it easier to develop the thing, they do just cut corners.
No, it's a real damn shame. I guess the issue is like you look at every other game, FIFA, NBA, NFL, NHL,
And you have to
etc.
make a game yearly for a franchise. You start cutting corners to make it easier. FIFA's been
Yeah,
doing it for fucking years, and I know like bad mouthing FIFA is going to get me lynched because the FIFA fans are fucking diehard, man.
yeah. For
But
some reason, they're ridiculously loyal to it, and will just sink loads of money into it. I mean, I know people because I spoke to some people at work. You know, when you have general conversation, you're like,
yeah,
"Oh, do you game much?" And they're like, "FIFA and Call of Duty," and it's like, bloody hell, you're not a gamer. You just
if
playing the
COD and
main game.
FIFA are your go-to games, you're not a gamer.
Yeah,
You, you could not proudly wear the title of gamer if
yeah,
wearing the title of gamer is anything to be proud of.
yeah. I mean, proper gamers are people. I mean, like if you know a bit about gaming, you know about all the modern games that are coming out. Yeah, I'd say you're a gamer. If you know about all sorts of games, I'd say you'd like a hardcore gamer.
Yeah, like I
Um,
would put myself into the hardcore when you look at the
definitely.
various amount of genres I know and the various amount of game lore I know. I would definitely throw myself into the hardcore category.
Yeah, you could be sat in Comic Con, and then they could have you on a panel, and they could just fire game questions about not every game, but a shit ton of games, and you
I know
probably
a
have
fair bit
a decent
about a
combo.
lot of genres, more than I
Yeah,
originally thought. Well, you never realize how much you know about a game until you start thinking about it, and you're like, "Oh shit, I'm a walking dictionary on it."
yeah,
Yeah, no, but I feel like that's why a lot of people go into the game industry is they grow up with games and they get the idea of, oh, I can invent the next this because I've played this type of genre. I know what makes a good version of it. But
yeah.
then we
I
run.
mean,
But this is also part of why there's so much issue with the game industry. There's so many people that want to go into it that companies can get away with abusing the workers because if you don't like it, there is a literal line at the door to take your place if
yeah,
you want to leave. Because
it's,
that's the issue is there's too many people wanting to go in that companies have basically, well, we've literally got a line of people to replace you, so we can do what we want. If you don't like it, there's the door. We can literally replace you in a day.
yeah. It's the hard truth, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah,
as you said earlier, the passion. That's why people go into it. They think in their heads, "Man, I'm going to create the next Halo or the next GTA." But in reality, they're probably just going to get you to work on an arm movement animation or a few pieces of grass. You
yeah,
know what I'm saying?
exactly. Yeah.
But yeah. So obviously, your brother worked in the gaming industry. How did he find it overall from what he's told you, and what was the
So I
hours?
don't remember how he found the job, but he worked at in a game company in London.
Mhm.
and I don't remember the company's name. It was a fair years ago. I don't. I think they. I don't know if they were a big company either. But from what I can tell, because he worked there for a week and then he quit, it
Ah,
was
okay.
not pleasant.
Damn.
Basically, he was working more or less 9 to 9, and he had a 2 hour commute from where he was staying to the place.
Jeez.
And on top of that, after the end of the week, the boss pulled him aside and basically said, "Yeah, I've noticed you're not doing the unpaid overtime like everyone else is either." So,
Ooh.
and that's my brother said, I'm just gonna quit and go because he was
Jeez.
already doing ungodly hours. Like he would get home some nights and just like cry himself to sleep because of how like stressed and shit he was. Like, and on top of that, at the end of the week, the boss fucking pulled him aside and goes, "Hey, I've noticed you're not doing the overtime that everyone else is doing."
Yeah, I mean that's completely next level ignorant. I mean, after a week, you'd think they'd just say, "Oh well, how are you finding the job? Is there anything we can do?"
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like it's like I said, crunch time and overworking is expected in the game industry. And it shouldn't be honestly, but it is,
Yeah,
and so you end up in that boat where it's like, you're forced to do ungodly hours and overtime without pay, and if you don't, well, you get fired,
yeah,
and it shouldn't be the norm, but it is. I
yeah.
feel
I
like a
mean,
lot of that also comes down to the company, not just the developers, because the companies will put dates on things and then throw them out to the world, which means they give you the deadline. And it's like, well, now we've got to crunch time it to make the deadline you've given us. You know what I mean?
for sure. I mean, to be honest, it's just insane, man. Like 9 till 9, and then commuting 2 hours. It's just next level difficult. But the
Yeah,
thing is, you'd think that they could just sort of have like a 9 till 5 lot of people, and then like from half 5 till half 9, just have people who want to do it part time or something.
yeah.
It's just mental from the gaming industry. It
But
really
that costs a little
is.
bit extra money to get those additional employees when you can just exploit the ones you got.
Yeah, yeah, I guess, yeah, because I know you obviously
At
making
the
the
end of
joke
the
there.
day, it's
From
making money that they're after.
Yeah, but mate, the thing is though, if someone sat them down and sort of said, "Well, the game could come out a lot better if everyone wasn't so gassed out," they probably wouldn't. They probably think, "Oh yeah, but we can make a load of cash still." But maybe one of the big heads might think, "Oh, he's got a point
Yeah,
there," and
you
then they
would
just
think, but
he'd say to the other big heads, "Oh, he's got a point," and then the next thing would just be him getting thrown out the building, leg and a wing, onto the
yeah,
cold
I'm
concrete.
going to use an example here in terms of America. The 4 day work week. I don't think America understand how that's supposed to work. So the idea of the 4 day work week is you reduce the hours, but it doesn't affect the workload. If anything, it improves it because the employees are more rested and have more time for leisurely activities. Because when you work people to the fucking bone, they get tired and they stop caring.
Yeah,
Like they stop working good because they're just tired all the time, and they know that when they get home, they're just gonna sleep and then get back to it again the next day. So the idea of the 4 day work week is you give them less hours, but it improves the workload because they're more rested like and thus more willing to work and have a better work output because they
yeah,
actually have more free time to do leisurely things and passions. The reason I say I don't think America understand how it works is America's way of doing it is they take the hours from the day that you're losing and add it onto the days you're already working. To say
yeah.
you're
Because I
doing a
know
nine
there's
to say you're doing a 9 to 5, they would take the 9 to 5 from that fifth day and add those hours onto the other four instead. Which
yeah.
yeah,
I was just gonna say, like, because I used to when I played Xbox a lot, I used to know a lot of American people. And I was complaining about how, oh, I've got to get on the coach to college for bloody I've got to be out the house at 25 to 8, then I don't get back till half 6. So unfair. And then they were like, yeah, but people here they're working from like 8 till 6. Not all the states, but like quite a few places are doing.
America's also got a work ethic filled with like abuse and exploitation of workers. But that's a different discussion for another podcast, probably.
Yeah, I don't think the thing is, I don't really, I probably wouldn't do that on another podcast just because I don't know, I just don't like, I don't like talking about workplaces unless I've actually been there. If that makes sense.
It's easy to look at something from the outside and say this and that, but if you haven't personally worked there, it can just come off as you like attacking the place or talking shit.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, maybe one day, like if YouTube ever blew up, I might talk about my experiences at workplaces, and
yeah,
they've been mixed, to be honest. There's been, when I worked for a charity doing phone work, the advice line, it was really good. But like when I worked for, surprisingly, bro, when I used to work in a warehouse in for the NHS, it was, I thought it'd be pretty decent, but it was absolutely horrible. I got treated like rubbish there. It was insane. But people who knew people there, they were treated brilliantly, and they weren't worked anywhere near as hard and were paid far more because I was on an apprenticeship.
Yeah, that's what happens. There's a similar thing with Blizzard, funny enough.
Yeah.
Blizzard had a very, if you were well known in the company or you knew the owners, you basically had an easy life.
Horrible.
And if you weren't super well known or you weren't a friend of the owners or any of that, yeah, no, you just got shafted.
Horrible.
Yeah.
And I mean, the company I work for currently, the department I work in, I think the management are decent overall, but other departments I've heard that the management are a little bit pressuring on people.
Yeah.
But we work 6 days and have 3 days off, which I actually like quite a lot because I don't have to, basically 3 of the days I don't have to get up early, which is brilliant for me because I don't hate getting up early, but I don't know, on the 4th and 5th days when I used to have to get up early for things, I was like, God, I just couldn't be arsed with it, man. So I still did it, but like it took a shit ton of toughness. I felt like I was like Tyson Fury knocked out, or like I was the Undertaker trying to get up from after being F5 by Brock Lesnar. You know, it's just difficult. But yeah, what would you say if you had to choose, right, AAA or an indie company? If you had to choose to work for either one.
Oh, okay. So funny enough, I would want to say indie, just because a lot of time indie are small like groups, and they don't tend to. Well, I say most of the time. There's obviously exceptions to every rule. They don't tend to have as harsh of a work environment than the big companies because a lot of time they're a smaller group.
Mm-hmm.
Also, big companies, because they have an expectation to put so many games out a year, they start crunch timing everybody and putting dates out on games regularly. Also, the indie, the game could just come out of nowhere because they took their time to do it due to being a smaller team. And a lot of time you'll find indie games tend to be better put together because of that, because they weren't trying to rush for it. Well, with AAA, whilst you can get bigger, like better games from a AAA, they're also more likely to be bugged because of the overworking.
Yeah, and you know, with indie games, I don't know how to explain it, but there's a certain charming movement that they have to them. It's really difficult to explain, but if you play an indie game and you play a AAA game, you get, well, you play them, you get what I mean. But like anyone who's watching or watches this back, play an indie game if you've got a PC or a gaming laptop and play a AAA game. And indie games it's like that Portal type movement, you know, it's just really charming and fun, and you know,
they have a charm to them because there's still passion there yet. But like I said, AAA will get you the bigger, more expansive games. Like, for example, I don't think an indie company could do something like Elden Ring.
Yeah, sadly not.
Like for that, you need a AAA budget for that one. But for a lot of games, like so for big games, definitely still go for AAA because I don't think indie have the budget to do a super big title. But if you want something that's like just fun and has some passion in it, definitely aim for indie over the AAA.
What would you personally do if you was going to approach the gaming industry?
Ooh, okay. If I was to personally approach it, like join one, you'd probably get paid more on AAA, but you'd also have the worst work ethic.
Yeah.
So it comes down to, is money your end goal or is passion the end goal? If money's the end goal, probably AAA, just because they will pay you more. It's just they'll destroy your social life. But if you still had a passion to it, I would aim for maybe starting at indie, just because I feel like it would still have the crunch time, obviously, but there's a chance it'd be a more relaxed one.
Yeah. I think
Obviously, it does come down to whoever's the one running the place.
Yeah, I mean, I think with smaller businesses and, by default, let's say indie companies, like the gaffers are not really having people over them having a go at them or giving them bonuses. It's just sort of like it's their business, their company, and these are the people that work for them. And they're probably sort of there's probably more of a family vibe because there's less of them there. And
Yeah.
if you pull one of those gaffers aside and say, look, I'm really gassed and all that jazz, they're probably like, well, unless they're an arsehole, they probably would be like, oh, okay, well,
Yeah,
take it a bit
it
slower.
is also dependent on who do you actually have running the place.
Yeah.
If it's an indie one.
While with like AAA companies, if you try and approach a gaffer, they're going to be, oh, I'm really struggling. I've done 12 hours and I've commuted an hour, etc., etc. They're just going to be like, mate, get out the fucking door.
It's like, I'm struggling. I've
yeah.
done 12 hours. I've got a big commute. They're like, bro, Jimmy's done 24 hours this day alone.
Yeah.
Man
We've got
doesn't
3
sleep.
people in the hospital. Come on, man up. What are you doing?
They're in the hospital. They're still programming.
Yeah.
So don't talk to me till then.
Yeah. Yeah. And then even the people in the hospital, the gaffers come in and say, you know what, you don't have to do any unpaid overtime today, thank you, but you still have to make it when you get out of the hospital in about a year.
That's pretty much how it goes.
Yeah, they're just sort of like puppets, or like just like putting on a manager facade because they sort of have to, but it's obviously their decision to do the job. I'd rather do the admirable thing and say, look, yeah, chill out a bit, don't work stupidly hard as you gassed out and get the sack than like get a load of money. And because it's, in my opinion, it's like tainted cash if you're earning money like that, but I suppose they don't care. So
if you want to make big money, you've got to make it off of human suffering. That's just sadly how it goes.
But unless you're a YouTuber or a sports person, but
yeah. If sports people, I think, get paid way too fucking much for what they do to some degree, especially footballers. Again, I know bad mouthing football anyway is going to get me fucking.
How dare you! After I'm enjoying my fucking game, dancing and laughing on the pitch.
The football fans are pretty rabid, but I think footballers honestly are paid way too fucking much for what they do. I'm gonna be honest.
What are you talking about? They're acting on there. They're acting on they deserve an Oscar for falling over and crying on the
oh yeah, I forgot
Anything,
footballers double as professional actors. The amount with the way they dive.
Yeah. But
that just reminds me of the one joke in Simpsons where Homer's like a referee for football, and he has a person who dives, and the guy takes the dive all the way to his grave to try and like sell it to get the penalty kick.
Brilliant.
And when he's in his tombstone, Homer says no penalty. The guy fucking rises up. The guy's like, "Fine." I think footballers are paid way too fucking much.
Yeah, I mean the thing is with football, it's because there's so much money in it. That's why they get paid so much and all that jazz. And the owners are probably thinking, "What the hell are we going to do with all this spare cash? Let's just give the footballers 90k a week for farting around and running around the pitch." Which they deserve. They deserve quite a lot. Don't get me wrong.
They deserve some. It is still like a sport that does take like a lot of physical work. Yeah, and there's injury, so they do deserve a lot. I just think they're paid a bit too much for what they're doing.
Yeah, and the thing is as well, I think I'm not trying to sound like a tight ass, but I think it's a bit dangerous paying like 20 and 21-year-olds like millions of pounds because. They've done, if they've got to that level of football, all they've done is play football their whole life. They haven't ever had a proper job, most probably. So they're getting £1 million out of nowhere. There's a good chance that they're just
to quote a comedian here on this one, Kevin Hart. Athletes don't respect money because they rarely don't have it.
Yeah,
they rarely don't have money, so they don't respect it.
Mm-hmm.
Like they'll throw like hundreds of thousands around just because they can.
Yeah, Mayweather's the ultimate example of that. A $20 million watch.
Yeah, exactly. Like they don't respect money because because they've never not had it. They've never had to like properly struggle their way up to get it.
Yeah, I
They just
mean,
have it and throw it around like there's no tomorrow because fuck, it's not like they're gonna ever be broke.
yeah, I mean, I think being an athlete is next level difficult, but there's a difference between going out there and doing a 9 to 5, or trying to balance a 9 to 5, or trying to balance a part-time job with being an athlete, rather than just like ever since 3 years old you've been doing, like Tiger Woods since 3 years old he's been golfing, Lewis
Yeah,
Hamilton since he was a
it's really
kid,
it's not too bad
golf guy.
to become like
Yeah.
a professional athlete if you got into it early enough.
Yeah.
Like, if you start at a young enough age, you'll become a top athlete of that respected sport in like no fucking time. Like
Hmm.
you'll come out of college and immediately enter a pro league,
Yeah.
for example.
I mean, it's like, as I say, Lewis Hamilton with the go-karting since a young age, he's never had a real job. He doesn't know how
Yeah.
difficult it is to do a 9 to 5.
But the thing is, it goes back to what I said of they don't respect money because when they retire, they're gonna run out of money very quickly due to their lifestyle. And yeah. That's the thing, they live a high lifestyle where they do just throw money around. So what are they gonna do when they're no longer making the money, but they're still throwing it around because that's their lifestyle? That's when
Yeah.
that's when they're gonna end up being broke and they're not gonna have anyone to blame for it but themselves.
Yeah, when that happens in combat sport, though, that's when the people end up getting brain damage and coming back after years off and thinking, "Fuck, I've
Yeah,
lost millions."
often with some sports, your retirement line is very short because of injury.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, most people retire around 60, 70, 80. In sports, you could easily retire around 30 to 40, give or take injuries, just
yeah.
because of what happens.
Something that's trippy though, bro. Like people who like go down the route of like fame and stuff and all that jazz,
Yeah.
and they're just chasing fame. I'm not going to say who it is, but I know someone who basically was saying about how they want to be famous and stuff. And I said to them, "Or make loads of money." And I said to them, like, bro, you need to still have a bit of a passion for what you do, and you can't just be going down this fame route. And he was making hundreds a day, but then he ended up getting like having serious mental health issues. I was telling him you need to get in the gym and exercise, and you need to try and do a voluntary job or something.
There is a cost to fame.
Definitely.
It's very mentally draining because, well, for one, like being famous, people's eyes are always on you, and you know that, and it's very mentally draining because one, you've got to keep up an image, but also if you make one mistake, all of your the fame that you've built up is gone in a flash
Yeah.
because you've got everyone watching you, and with fame, you'll always have people that will hate you for no reason. And the moment you give them a reason, they will witch hunt you on Twitter until you're literally off the internet.
Yeah, it's pretty awful. But those sort of people are just like, they've just got nothing in their lives and they're jealous. I mean, to be honest,
Yeah.
even if someone does make a complete fuck up, like Logan Paul, I didn't like him for ages. Then I became a fan again. And after his crypto scamming and app scamming, I just think, fuck the guy. But I'd never harass him. I just think I'm not going to watch his stuff.
The Twitter freaks are notorious for their harassment. It's just what they do.
Yeah. I think
they form hate mobs against everybody for no reason.
Yeah.
Just because they don't like someone.
Crazy.
Yeah. I don't use Twitter very often, if ever at all, just because I have a Twitter account, but I literally never fucking use it.
Yeah.
And the reason was Twitter is a walking cesspool of hate. Like, everyone on there hates each other and are just waiting for an excuse to show it.
Yeah, it's just bloody worrying, man, society. But there you go.
Yep.
But
that's sadly the society we've lived.
But yeah, so would you say there's any good things about the gaming industry?
That one again very much depends on the company, how well known you are, and how long have you been doing it.
Yeah.
But in truth, And the way it is now, unless you're one of like the top developers at one of the biggest companies, there's probably not a lot of good things. Like I said,
Yeah,
a lot of the reason people are still in games is passion for the what they're doing and what they're making.
yeah, wanting to be a part of a bigger
Yeah, if
thing.
you're going into the games industry hoping to make money, you're going to be out by the first year.
Well, maybe the first day.
Yeah, games is not a money profession; it's a passion profession. The only reason a lot of game devs are still doing what they're doing despite the horrible environment, and the reason people are still signing up to try and get into the games industry is the passion behind it. No one goes into games with the idea of I'm gonna make billions. Like no one has that idea. And if you go in expecting to make a lot of money off of games, I'm sad to say you're going to get a huge wake up call.
Yeah. I mean, I'll just get my thing out there. I'd say like the only good thing, I don't know. I guess sort of, I guess just being a part of something and doing your passion. That's it, really. But you're going to get treated like rubbish doing your passion.
Like I say, it's a passion profession. You're going to get treated like shit for doing it, but you know, if as long as if you can keep the passion alive, then yeah, you're going to enjoy it.
More power to you, I guess, if that's your passion.
Yeah.
But yeah. So
Though it can also go too far the other way. I'm going to use an example of two game devs here that I know. Sakurai and Yoshi P, if you know either of those two.
nah.
Sakurai is the developer of Smash, and he's known for like the passion he puts into the games. He's worked himself into the hospital multiple times
Oof.
because he's trying his best to make the games as good as they can be. Yoshi P is a fucking diamond in the rough of like head game devs. Like Yoshi P is the head dev of Final Fantasy XIV, which is the MMO Final Fantasy game.
Mm-hmm.
Which brilliant game, by the way. If you're into MMOs, definitely pick it up. Great story, good gameplay, and the dev is a fucking diamond in the rough of game development. So with Yoshi P, so I'm just gonna use an example here again to show. I think so. He also overworks himself a lot. Like he's ended up in the hospital a few times working to make the game good. But this is an example of like the level of like respect the fans have for him as well as that. Endwalker, the most recent expansion, was coming out, and it had to be delayed by I think 2 weeks. And he made a full like apology where he was actually like crying because he feels like he let the players down.
Jeez.
Because he knows a lot of people most likely took booked time off to play Endwalker on release, and now they most likely can't rebook that time. So
Yeah.
he feels like he legit let the fans down and made a full on like crying apology to them.
Damn.
But like, yeah, because of that, so Yoshi P is heavily respected in the fan base of Final Fantasy because he's a legit good developer and he actually seems like he cares about the players. Because I'm going to use a Blizzard example here. Some of the Blizzard devs clearly do not give a shit about their fans. Like, if you listen to any of the World of Warcraft devs, for example, talk about their player base, you can tell in their voice they have complete contempt for the players. Like, they do not like their players at all.
What sort of stuff do they say? Do they just think like that it's just a bunch of geeks, or do they just not care about them? Or...
It's a difficult one, but if you look at most of their interviews, you can just tell by the tone of voice there is complete venom in it towards their own players. I mean, so this is going to be an interesting example of this that shows the devs. I don't remember which expansion it was in, but they nerfed one of the classes to outright unplayability. I think it was Warlock Demonology. Like they nerfed it completely to the point where it is unplayable. Like if you played it, you were going to get hate from everyone you were playing with because the class was that bad. And when asked why they nerfed it so badly, their response was, we don't like the people playing it.
That is pretty shitty, man. That is just ridiculous on
Yeah,
there.
like
And
their whole reason for why they did that to the class is they don't like the class or the people that were playing it. It's not even that demonology was overpowered either. It was just a subclass of warlock. It wasn't even like their best subclass. But still that happened. Like that's what I mean, like a lot of like I don't know if that's just the World of Warcraft devs or if it's a thing with all Blizzard devs, but I know specifically the World of Warcraft ones, they outright hate their players. And you can
horrible.
tell it just by watching any of their interviews or like talk things. You can just tell the venom in their voice towards the player base whenever the conversation goes there. But I know Overwatch for a time when Jeff was it Jeff? Is it, what's his name? Was it Jeff Kaplan or someone else am I thinking of? The guy behind Overwatch.
Oh, I ain't sure, to be fair.
But it was the head guy of Overwatch. For a time, he was quite good as a dev, like, towards the players. But even he left eventually because of, like, stuff with Blizzard behind the scenes. Like, but goes back to what I said of, I feel like with Blizzard, there was a lot of shit going on behind the scenes that we didn't know about until recently, even before Activision took over. I know it seems like we keep going back to Blizzard, but Blizzard
And you're shitting on them.
But they are one of the big examples at the moment of that shit.
Yeah, it's just because all the info's out about them, while most gaming companies are going to give it their all to just keep their stuff under the rug.
Yeah, like I said earlier, if you dig deep enough, you'll find something on every game company. It's just a matter of where do you draw your line.
Yeah.
Like if you draw your line at they've done one or two shitty things, you're gonna have you're never gonna play any game ever. It's just a matter of how extreme is the stuff they've done, and do you like accept or allow it?
Yeah.
For example, I've boycotted both Blizzard and Ubisoft because the amount of sexual harassment and human rights violations they've done is insane. And from what I can tell, there's still info coming out about it with Blizzard.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to boycotting, I mean, it's difficult. I haven't bought Overwatch. Well, no, isn't Overwatch 2 meant to be free? I think
it was free if you own the original, but it was basically a DLC, but worse.
Yeah, I wouldn't get that anyway then. But like when it comes to, companies like Toys for Bob working under Activision and they're making Crash games and platformers, I sadly can't give that up myself. I can't sacrifice my enjoyment.
Oh yeah, like, if you grew up with Crash, fair enough. Like I don't blame you. It takes a lot of strength to boycott a place, and I do not blame people who don't, because it is really difficult to boycott a company if they're known for a game that you grew up with and enjoyed.
Yeah, I mean,
example, Crash, as you just said. Like, if you grew up playing the Crash games, I do not blame you for like not boycotting them for it because Crash was your childhood.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to justify it or anything, but like, Toys for Bob, they don't have control over what Activision and Blizzard do. They're just working for them.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes sense. If it was
comes
Blizzard,
down to the other argument then of we're supporting the developer versus supporting the company. I'm just gonna break that argument open right now. Game devs are on an annual salary. They don't make much money from the actual game sales. They've already been paid. The only people that make money from the game sales and shit are the actual like heads of the company. Game developers are on an annual salary.
nah.
A lot of the argument I see people use is, but if I don't like give my money towards this, I'm not supporting the developers. Like, the developers have already been paid.
Yeah.
The only people that are benefiting from you giving money is literally the heads of the fucking company that are the ones doing the abuse. So using the argument of, but I'm supporting the developers. No, you're not. You're supporting the like bastards in charge that are behind half the allegations. It's very rare that developers make a cut from the actual sales. listen, they're on annual salary, and the odds are they've already been paid for the game.
Yeah, I mean that is a really good point, to be honest. When I said about Toys for Bob not controlling people, I sort of meant like it's their game that they made, if that makes sense. I know I'm giving money to Activision, but it's like I'm like buying their art and giving money to the people over them, if that makes sense. But it's their art I'm after rather than like the respecting Activision.
Well, I know. I'm just saying in general.
But yeah, that's a good point that you made. That's a really good point. Obviously, it's still, I don't blame you for not playing any Crash game again. And with Ubisoft, I mean, the only bloody game I've bought is, I know it doesn't justify it, but I got Rainbow Six Siege again before. This is after all the crap came out about them. However, I got it on a very, very good deal on Steam. It was for like £3. So I'm giving only £3 to like a bad company. And with Crash Wumper League, that's only going to be £35, which is a lot more than £3. But it's like, I feel a little bit, bad for giving bad companies that money. But I think I choose my enjoyment over.
Like I said, it is very hard to fully boycott a company, especially if you grew up with them and that. So I don't I don't blame people if they don't boycott the company for their shitty actions, because it is legit difficult.
Yeah. Like, I'd never say to you, I know you're not saying this to me, but I mean people in general, like if people want to boycott companies, I never say to them, bro, let's play Wumper League. You've got to play amazing. We've got to play it together. No, I don't care about your morals. Play Wumper League. I'll never do that. That's just ridiculous. We all have to respect each other's like decisions.
Yeah, exactly.
But now on to the final topic, solutions. I just want to bring up one quickly. Just one quick solution before you make your point. I think it would be really, really like a wise move if you want to work for a big company to just have a special skill. So like just have one specialist thing that you're amazing at in the game industry. So then there's less chance that they'll think you're expendable. Or just work for an indie company and take your chances. Those are two quick solutions. But obviously the most obvious one is just for the gamers to like unionize and what have you. But the only issue is, as you mentioned earlier, there's about 1 million people lining up who will just take their jobs.
So the thing with the union, as you mentioned, they've been trying to union for years, and each time they do, a lot of big companies will hire a law firm that are known for breaking unions to break it. An example of that is that's actually happened with, again, it feels like we keep going back to these guys, but Blizzard. Their employees are trying to union, and they literally hired a law firm that are notorious for breaking unions to break it down.
No.
Gamers, people in the game industry have been trying to union for years, and it's literally gotten nowhere. Not for any fault of theirs, but because the companies either don't care, or they keep hiring people that break the union down completely.
Yeah, I mean,
they've been trying.
That's a good point then. All right, forget the union idea.
I mean, union is a good way to fix it. I agree with that. It's just they've been trying and it's not getting anywhere.
So another solution I was going to say, obviously, there's the obvious one of boycotting the games. And I mean, obviously...
big companies won't change unless you speak with your wallet.
Yeah.
But the thing is, for that to work, a lot of people need to speak with their wallet.
Yeah, I mean,
the problem is you've got whales who will still throw like hundreds of thousands at them. Unless the whales speak with their wallet, a lot of times they won't listen.
Yeah, because the thing is, like, I'm not saying I'm the most mentally tough dude ever, but I've only spent £3 in recent years on Ubisoft, and I'm planning to spend £35 on Crash Wumper League. There's people who are going to spend like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds on Ubisoft just because they're like, oh well, it's like an urge, they can't help it, which is fair enough, but like that's sort of a way.
The reason, for example, Blizzard haven't got any better is they have dedicated whales on every game that literally throw millions at them. So it doesn't matter if 90% of their player base have left, if that 10% keep throwing enough money to make up for it at them.
Yeah.
Because whilst gamers have like, okay, I think it is, but consumers as a whole have the power to change a company with our wallet. It requires like almost all of us to actually work together with it. If even like say like you have like 10,000 like people, if even 100 of them are still giving like enough money to make up for the other like 9,900, it's not going to change anything.
Yeah.
Like it needs to be a big enough hit that they actually listen and realize, okay, our fans are turning away. We need to sort our shit out. Because
Mhm.
if we hit them hard enough with like at their bottom line, they will do something. Like they will try to improve because they realize what they've done. But the problem is you don't hit that bottom line and they don't learn anything and they just keep going the way they're going.
Yeah. Quite a damn shame. But
Yeah.
I was gonna say those are all good points, but I was gonna say another quick solution. Just you could just try and work for a computer company instead. Obviously, it's throwing your passion in the bin, but what's the point of sacrificing your mental and
That's what
physical
my
health?
brother's done. So, software development actually gets paid a lot because there's not a lot of software developers. They're they're very scarce when you look at the overall like computing industry. And so, software developers are often paid very well and treated very well because unlike in the game industry, they're not easily replaced. So, I feel
Mhm.
like if the number of people going into games went down, it would actually make companies value their employees a bit more because they're not as easily replaced. And as you mentioned earlier, if you're skilled in a specific area, they're going to value you as well because it's hard. Like replacing general developers is easy at the moment just because there's so many, but replacing someone who's very good at like animation or very good at the programming side, it's very difficult. It will be very difficult to replace them, and so they're probably given a bit more leeway or a bit better like treatment than just standard developer number 97 over there.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So I feel like it seems like a weird way to say to fix it, but I feel like a good way to fix the game industry is cut down how many people are trying to go into it.
Yeah.
I know it sounds very weird. It's like me basically saying give up on your dreams and passion, but I'm not saying it to like quit permanently, but do it enough that they're not so easily replaced, and thus the companies will maybe start treating the actual employees better because they'll start to notice that they can't just easily open the door and get a new one from a closet.
Hmm. Another thing as well, if you wanted to keep the passion side of it, but not go into the game industry, because some people do this. They make their own games and put them on
Yeah,
Steam, and
that's another way. If you have the passion, is create your own. Like
yeah,
there's software out there to do it. It will still take a lot of hours and it will still cost a lot of money, but especially if you have like a small team. But that's a good way to do it is to go in and make your own game if you want the passion.
I mean, the thing is, I know this. I know you're not into the Callum's Corner community, but there was this one bloke called Mini Tom who spent 2 years on a game, and it just came out as absolute, just not good at all. And then
Yeah.
Callum's Corner played it, and everyone was like, "This is boring. Get rid of it." And he was so annoyed. He was fuming. But the thing is, you've got to just you. Although you can't make a grand, massive game on your own, you've sort of got to just budget and be smart about it, and just make something which will look cool. Like Flappy
So
Bird was just made by one bloke, wasn't it?
yeah,
So
Flappy Bird is a game that you can literally recreate in 10 minutes.
yeah,
At like 10 minutes tops, you could recreate Flappy Bird if you're good enough. Like if you know what you're doing with the tools. Like, Flappy Bird is not a difficult game to make.
yeah, you could do that in a computer science lesson.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, in college on my game development course, because I did do a game development course at college. Our instructor, literally to prove a point, in 10 minutes made his own version of Flappy Bird in the lesson to prove a point.
Legend.
Yeah, like literally, to show us how easy it was to create something like Flappy Bird, he literally with 10 minutes just did it during the lesson to prove a point. But it's also why the Flappy Bird dev got so much hate from other game devs, because they work like several hours to make games, and he made something that could be done in 10 minutes and was making tons of money.
Yeah, I mean, I do get the frustration from them, but the thing is, it's like these people. It's like when the people say, "Oh, this musician just used these 2 beats and has all this audio editing and makes their voice sound better." But the thing
Simplicity is key a lot of the time.
Yeah.
You don't need something big and flashy. You just need something that's that's fun and addictive at the time.
Yeah,
Like Flappy Bird, I think, did as well as it did because it was addictive to play.
exactly. And the thing is, it's that bloke who made it. He's the one who did it. He made Flappy Bird. He beat everyone to it, so you can't really fault him. Well, people
Yeah,
can't fault
exactly.
him in general.
Yep. Undertale's another example of an indie game made by, I think it was only made by one person, Toby
Bloody
Fox,
hell.
who's not even a game developer. He's a musician.
That's amazing, man.
He put a lot of of passion into the game. Like, so Undertale as a game, code wise, is a mess. Like, he showed the code, and everyone's like, "The fuck? How the hell did this game even work?" But
Legendary.
He made up for it with the characters and the story. You know what I mean? Like, that's what made everyone remember Undertale. The characters and the story it told.
You should have just had you doing the voice acting on your like you did in the classic stream.
Oh yeah, when I streamed
Back in the
Undertale, I
day.
voice acted every character.
Yeah.
I don't think I got Papyrus's voice right, but my brother watched one of the streams, and apparently I did Sans and Flowey really well.
Yeah, I like
he
Sans'
actually
voice.
really liked my Flowey and Sans voice.
Yeah, I like that scientist bloke as well. Who's like, I'm not one of the bad guys.
Oh yeah,
that was.
And that one, yeah, Alfie's is not too difficult to do. Alfie's, you just gotta like crush your nose so you speak very nasally.
I'm not one of the bad guys.
Yeah, exactly like that. Yeah, because Alfie's is designed as that textbook nerd-looking character.
Yeah.
Iris, you want to go for Skeletor from He-Man?
How does he sound again?
Hold on, I'll see if I can get a clip for you.
Actually, I might as well just look it up. Skeletor He-Man.
Yeah, you'll probably find it if you just look it up.
Completely off topic, but pure bants. All right, here we go. Skeletor. I'll just listen to a quick bit of audio.
Yeah.
That bloody advert.
Yeah, that's what you want to aim for
Amazing.
Papyrus.
Amazing.
Like, seriously, look at how Papyrus speaks in the game, and tell me he doesn't have the same energy as Skeletor.
No, I just didn't expect that voice to come out of Skeletor's mouth. I thought he would have just sounded like the Metallica singer when he's singing a song. I didn't think it would be like, oh.
Yeah, like it sounds goofy and shit, but seriously, look at how Papyrus speaks in game, and you can easily imagine the Skeletor voice coming out of his mouth.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, I was going to say Flowey sort of sounded like Marge Simpson on heroin and crack and monkey dust. Flowey just sounded insane.
With Flowey, you want to try and hit a level of innocence, but also batshit fucking insane.
Yeah.
At the same time, because that is Flowey's character. He appears innocent at first because he's a flower, but he's a fucking psychopath who literally has no he's Jack Horner. Literally no empathy to anyone or anything. He does awful shit with no remorse.
Yeah. I think even Patrick Bateman would be a bit like bloody hell to Jack Horner, to be honest. I think even he'd be a bit
Jack
shocked.
Horner is hilarious with how bad he is.
Yeah. I hope he comes back for the next Shrek film. I hope he somehow comes back from the dead. I know less is more. Like you don't want to ruin the brilliant thing that happened in the first film.
I feel like Jack Horner works because we're not given a lot about him.
Yeah.
He is just a monster and he revels in it.
And those sort of jokes, you can make a load of them if you're smart enough. Like if the writing's good enough, you can make loads of mental evil jokes with Jack Horner.
Yeah,
I'd love him and Shrek to meet and throw down.
Yeah.
You know, Cameron Diaz is actually coming out of retirement for Shrek 5. One of my mates was like, she's never coming out of retirement. What are you talking about? But I was like, bro, she will. Trust me, and she's come out of retirement. I don't know if it's specifically for the Shrek film, but she's come out of retirement for since I can't remember when.
To be fair,
But
one thing I've noticed with DreamWorks is they see like their sequels always tend to be better than the original.
Yeah,
Like,
Shrek 2, Kung
Puss
Fu
in
Panda
Boots
2.
Last Wish, way better than Puss in Boots 1. Kung Fu
Yeah.
Panda 2, better than Kung Fu Panda 1. Shrek 2, one of the best sequels of all time.
Madagascar, Escape to Africa, Pure
Yeah,
Bants.
Madagascar. Like, they seem like their first movies are range from bad to okay, and then their sequels tend to fucking knock it out of the park 90% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
I say 90 because there's a few like bad
How to Train Your
sequels.
Dragon 1 is like goat.
Yeah, like How to Train Your Dragon 2 isn't bad, but it couldn't surpass the first. The first one hit fucking gold.
Yeah, was 3 any good? Or because I never. got around
Three's
to-
all right. Yeah, it's a good. Three's a good way to end the series. I don't
But
know if it. I don't know if it's better than one. I don't think it is, just because How to Train Your Dragon 1 is fucking incredible. But two and 3 are not bad movies or sequels. They're just not able to match the predecessor.
Was Kung Fu
One
Panda
example
3?
of huh?
I was going to ask, was Kung Fu Panda 3 any good?
Kung Fu Panda 3 is definitely the weakest of the three. It's still good, but it has the issue of it goes too much into the comedy. After a movie like 2 shows us how emotional Kung Fu Panda can get.
I know they're doing a 4th one, which should be banned.
I'm hoping it's going to be good, but I'm also worried.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I mean-
mean, I guess the worst that happens is that they just run it into the ground and they're like, all right, we're going to leave it there.
Yeah.
So,
Because, like I said, Kung Fu Panda. I think a lot of the appeal of Kung Fu Panda. Also, I like how this has become an animation podcast again.
yeah.
But I feel a lot. What I like about with Kung Fu Panda is it has the comedy, but it also shows the emotional depth.
Yeah.
Like in Kung Fu Panda 1, if you listen to Poe's dialogue, it is clear he has a lot of self-hate and doubt.
the imposter
towards
syndrome in it.
himself. Yeah, like he doesn't like who he is. And it's very clear if you listen to his dialogue.
Yeah.
Like his fucking like bit where he basically explodes at Shifu when he finds out that Tai Lung broke out of prison. Like if you listen to what he says there, it lays it all out perfectly for you that he actually hates himself and what he is.
Yeah.
He wants to be different, but he can't.
He's like, ah! Straight after, he's like,
Oh,
where'd
yeah,
he
that-
go? Ah!
Yeah,
Like, you cannot leave!
it's before that bit, yeah.
I love
after-
how, like, moments earlier, he was doing the impression of Shifu with the noodles on his mustache.
But,
That
like,
was
for
fun.
one line that hits from Poe in that bit that actually like fucking crushes me when you think about it is his line of every time you threw a brick at my head or said I smelled it hurt, but it could never hurt any more than just living my life just being me.
Oof.
If I thought if anyone could change me, make me not me, it was you.
Yeah, I mean, that was a
When you
brilliant.
think about it and look at what he said in that line, it hits fucking hard.
Hmm.
And it shows to what I said of there's a lot of clearly self-hate there in Poe's voice towards himself.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like Kung Fu Panda did well because it has the comedy and the action, but there's also a lot of heartfelt bits like that.
Hmm. And Uguay dying as well.
Oh yeah,
That hit
fucking
hard.
Uguay is class, man.
Yeah.
Like
He's
there's
just.
so like he doesn't have a lot of screen time, but the amount of wisdom he has is legit like impressive.
But it's just hilarious how he just completely fucks off when he dies. He's like, well, good luck, see ya. And he just
Yeah,
flies off.
he drops some words of wisdom on everybody, and then just fucks off to the afterlife.
Yeah. I mean,
And
it
the
would
thing
have been
is,
boring
Three
because
implied he could come back if he wanted. He just doesn't.
it would have been boring if he just if he just beat Tai Lung with a finger thing again, like pressing his
Yeah.
pressure points 3 times. So I'm
As,
glad he did die and fly
As
off.
Uguay said to Kai in the third one, it was not my destiny to defeat you. I've put another on that path.
Mhm.
Vienna. But that's what I mean. Like DreamWorks movies, like they're either like DreamWorks has two ways their movies go. Their movies are either fucking masterpieces or they're the worst trash in history. There is no in between.
Yeah,
of
like
what I've
Shark
noticed.
Tale and Shrek the Turd.
Yeah, like their movies are either fucking hit out of the ballpark, or it's one of the worst things you could ever witness. Shark Tale.
I think Ants was a good in between though. I think Ants was a all right,
Yeah.
above average film.
The thing with Ants is that Disney basically made the same movie with Ant's Life.
Bugs
Oh,
Life.
sorry,
Yeah, I
Bug's
mean,
Life. It's basically more or less the same movie.
which one came out first? Out
I
of
think they
interest?
both came out at the same time.
Oh,
Like,
someone must have had some inside info.
yeah, like, it was either incredibly coincidental or something's gone on there. But they literally both made the same movie, more or less.
I'm gonna look at when Bugs Life came out. Bugs Life.
Yeah, I know they were very close to each other, if not at the same time.
No, well, it says it released in the UK on the 5th of Feb 1999. I'm not
Okay.
sure. It says it came out in 98, but it doesn't actually say. I'm trying to find when. Oh, it
Yeah.
came out a bit later than Ants, so I'm giving DreamWorks the credit, and also Ants is a bit more adult and fun than Bugs
Yeah.
Life.
Yeah, so I mean, like, DreamWorks tends to hit the adult side of things.
And it sort of annoyed me how all the ants were like. I just didn't like the Liar Revealed story. I was just like, oh.
The Liar Reveal story is done to death and rarely done well.
Yeah. Apart from in How to Train Your Dragon, because there isn't that basically like it gets resolved straight away, and it's not a load of back and forth rubbish. It's just
Yeah.
sort of like stoic.
It's
like,
used for an actual emotional impact, like with Stoic saying that Hiccup's not his son, and then just watching Stoic's body language, you can tell as soon as he leaves the room, he immediately regrets what he just said,
yeah.
but he can't go back on it now. Like, you can tell from just body language alone, like the realization hitting him of what he just said to his son.
And then afterwards, him being like, "I'm proud that you're my son," you know. It's
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It's really hard.
Like, it's subtleties like that. Like, it's show, don't tell.
Exactly.
You know?
But
Yeah.
yeah, I guess we've gone over a lot of interesting things.
We've derailed like several times this
Yeah.
podcast.
I guess we've gone over a lot of interesting things. I guess with the gaming industry, just to sum it all up, you know, although I'm not boycotting any companies, I don't spend too much on the bad companies, but Rockstar seems
like, I'm
pretty
not
cool.
like as I said, boycotting is incredibly difficult to do depending on your attachment to the company. So I do
Yeah.
not blame people for not boycotting something if you have an emotional attachment. I would
Yeah.
prefer if you did to some companies that deserve it, like Blizzard, but I can understand why some people wouldn't and couldn't.
Mhm.
So I'm not going to give them flack for it.
But yeah, I think Rockstar and 343 seem pretty cool. I know they've probably done some bad things behind the scenes.
Oh, like I said, every company's got something
yeah.
if you dig deep enough.
Definitely.
It's just a matter of how bad is it and can you forgive it.
Yeah.
Like with Blizzard, I just don't forgive what they've done.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can't feasibly bring myself to support that company. And same goes with Ubisoft for very similar reasons. Though I said Blizzard's probably the worst of the two. But Ubisoft's just like almost as bad to a degree. But yeah.
I was going to ask any closing statements or.
Hard to say because I don't fully know how to ever close these things off. All I can really think of is like if you grow up playing games and like games, that's good. But if you plan to get into the game industry, just be aware that it's not going to be an easy transition, if a good one either. But at the same time, like you have to go in with the idea of it's your passion. Don't go in with the idea of making money or being like the next like developer of the next big game. It's not going to happen. At least not very, very rarely.
Well,
if I was to give proper advice to anyone watching this who want to get into games, I would wait a bit and hope that they can get a union together. Because otherwise, you will be abused and mistreated, and if you complain about it, you will just be thrown away. It's the sad truth of the industry at the moment.
Well, that is a good way to sound off. So, thank you all so much for watching, and take care. Have a good one. See you later.
Yeah, sorry for the downer way to end the podcast.
I know. Yeah, all good. You know. Take care then, guys. Peace.